for cooling. I don't think. Yeah.
Three, two, one.
Good morning. Good morning to our citizens and residents. Of course, good morning to our friends and well wishers in the diaspora. I wanted this morning to give the country a heads up that anytime from now, Ross University will announce its departure from Dominica. As we all know, this has been speculated for some time, but a few days ago, officials from Ross formally gave word to us on this matter. Since Maria, the officials of Dominica have been in constant contact with officials of Ross to see how we could cushion the impact of Maria. Over the last 10 months, we explored all options that one could think of in our discussions with Ross. At the end of the day, the officials of Ross, like any other business person, reserve and exercise the right of the shareholders and the many interests to include but not limited to parents, students, faculty, and sponsors. This is a direct consequence of Hurricane Maria and Tropical Storm Erica. Let us make it very clear that Ross loves Dominica and Dominica loves Ross. We have had a very long relationship over the years. Had it not been for these two storms, these two weather systems, there would never have been any consideration of Ross University's departure from Dominica. As a matter of fact, about 3 years ago, we signed a 25-year, we renewed our partnership agreement for 25 years with a wide range of concessions, including the redevelopment of the campus, and we saw the comments when we started, Ross started constructing a number of critical pieces of infrastructure and spent several millions of dollars doing so in the first few years of the partnership agreement. But none of us can wish away these weather systems. The fact remains, they happened, Erica and Maria, which brought considerable damage to Dominica. Ross, I am satisfied, tried everything. Certainly they tried everything. This is now almost a year since Maria, and we'll all recognize too that there are businesses in Dominica owned by Dominicans that have not recommenced operations since Maria. And there are some that have reduced the scale of the operations. And some also have expanded the operations. In my discussion with senior officials of Ross, I was able to garner from them their continued love and connection with Dominica. To the extent that they have kept open the door for the return to Dominica of several aspects of their US $5 billion operations. Ross is owned by a major company that has a portfolio of over US $5 billion. So Ross is just but one arm of that massive operation. We shall continue discussions with the directorship of the parent company to see how Dominica can position itself to attract such operation in the near future. However, notwithstanding our understanding of the decision, we made the point to them that the 40 years of association is not 40 days, and that it is only fair, as in any marriage of 40 years, that if there is to be a parting of ways, there should be at least be a sharing of the fruit of those 40 years. Ross has agreed to this in principle, and we are now at an advanced stage of negotiations as to how best Ross can say thanks to Dominica for these 40 years. We are now discussing the specifics, and it would be presumptuous of me to anticipate what their ultimate decision will be. But I think my team and I have made some very strong and reasonable suggestions that I am hopeful will be taken on board by Ross University. Suffice to say that the first and foremost in my consideration was for us to leave a lasting, tangible monument to the warmth of the friendship that existed between Dominica and the Ross University. And later down, in the next few days, we will speak in more specific detail on this particular very critical point. And I believe that once we get the final word from Ross, I think Dominicans will be grateful for this particular very critical request that we've made of Ross University. Secondly, Ross is into education. Ross has benefited hundreds of Dominicans over the years. So henceforth, ordinary Dominicans desirous of pursuing studies in medicine or related studies will continue to access the relevant scholarships at Ross University. Thirdly, we were also very strident in our lobby for our recognition and appreciation of the fact that the closure of Ross will have a serious negative impact on the economy and the many businesses in the north, in Pequot, Portsmouth. Many businesses were there for us in good times, throughout their times, and we hope that Ross can be there for them in their darkest hour. Many will need support, and we hope that Ross will reflect and appreciate this. And again, on this point, as I said, we were very strident on this. We were very clear with Ross University that there'll be businesses that will be impacted. There are people who invested specifically to provide services to Ross University. There are small business people who run operations, small bars and restaurants and snackets. And we will need to ensure that we can provide some tangible assistance to those people to reposition themselves within the economy. And we look forward to a favorable response in that regard. And of course, I said in the days and weeks ahead, the cordiality of the relationship will allow opportunities to discuss other possible benefits to the people of Dominica and for those in the North specifically. In the days ahead, the government will meet with individuals affected to discuss the future, and we shall be able to share with them the plans for them specifically and the country in general. We, as Dominicans, would also need to recall that after Tropical Storm Erica, we saw the closure of DCP Colgate Palmolive. It affected many jobs, it affected many individuals who provided direct services and goods to Colgate Palmolive. But what happened? In less than 2 years after it was closed, it was reopened. The government provided direct financial support to the successor company in the tune of 5.4 million EC dollars. And we now see DCP, the successor company, regaining its market presence in the Caribbean. And many persons who lost their jobs during that time have been re-engaged. And in the years to come, we will see the increase of the line of products that this DCP will be providing. And so DCP will be in the next few years in a better position than DCP Colgate Palmolive was in terms of its contribution to Dominica. So let us remain optimistic. This is a natural way of life. This is about business. This is about the impact of Hurricane Maria on Dominica. And everyone was impacted. Ross was impacted itself. So we have, as far as the government is concerned, no animosity towards Ross for his decision. It's unfortunate. We would have preferred the other option of the remaining, but we have to be pragmatic and practical. And we remain supportive of Ross' efforts. We cannot forget the years that Ross has been with us. And we, as I said, we will meet with the business people. As early as today, I'll be meeting with some of the property owners from Portsmouth and speak to them. And over the next few days, the government will be meeting with persons directly affected and so on. But in every disappointment, there is a silver lining, and we just have to capture that silver lining and take it from there. But I do not think that we should behave like the world has ended. The world is far from being ended. So we are not daunted by this. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but we have to appreciate that Ross is a business entity, and it had to take decisions of its own. We will continue to engage them in the next few days. I myself have been in touch with them almost literally every day. Also, the government officials have been in touch with them on a regular basis. And from the government standpoint itself, we will be making certain decisions of our own direct and tangible support to those who will be impacted by the closure of Ross University. So we wait on Ross for these 3 points, and we'll have continued relations in them because the medical board is the one that has to accredit them, and I think we should keep to our obligations, and we will keep to our obligations, and we will continue next few days to discuss with Ross these 3 very important points. And I believe, and I'm sure they're listening to me, I believe that once we get word from them on the specific points, I do not want to speak to them more specifically for obvious reasons, but certainly what the government has proposed to us, in our view, a reasonable request, and we have no doubt that Ross would respond in a favorable manner. So once we get word from Ross, we will come back to you, the public at large, and to share with you what we have both agreed, that is to say, Ross University and the government of Dominica. So for all of us, it's not the news that we would like to hear about the closure of Ross, but that's life. We have to move on. This is why we have always said to us, and that's why we invested in hotels and diversifying the economy and spreading the risk of the country. So that if there is a shock in one sector, other sectors will be in a position to cushion that shock. And we look forward to the hotels playing their part. But we have some ideas for the north, and at the appropriate time we will share those ideas with our stakeholders. But I am not. I am concerned. But I am not. I have great hope for future prospects. Great hope for future prospects, and we will advance speedily the construction of the airport to ensure that we can continue to secure the investments in tourism and agriculture, and expand the agricultural program as we working with the World Bank in a massive investments there, and target the farmers and provide them all the support they require to grow more food and to reposition the country to export more. We will be providing support to the boat owners in upgrading their fleet. There's a restructuring in the Ministry of Trade and DEX here to focus heavily on the export of agricultural produce. All of those plans are in place and have already been triggered. But we look forward to the hotels playing their part once they open, beginning next year, to absorb a number of us in enough who would be directly impacted by this. So we have to continue expanding the economy, and this is why we always stand by our position, even when criticized by some in our midst in this country, to support our investments at a highly concessionary rate to DCP. There are some who criticize us for that, but the government is a government that supports and believes in the private sector, and will continue to do what we can to provide concessionary financing to our local indigenous investors, so that we can continue to sustain those investments and expand those investments. So those of us who will be directly impacted, I do not want you to think that the world has ended. It's far from that. There will be other opportunities, rest assured. And we'll meet with you very soon. As I said, I'm meeting with some as early as this morning to discuss their concerns and to see how we can work together to reach out to them. So we wish Ross all the best. We wish them success, continued success, and we look forward to continue working with them on a number of fronts, especially the three areas that we have written to them on, and we are in direct and intense negotiations and discussions with them. I don't think it's really I think it's because of the cordiality of the relationship. We're not breaking up in this marriage in any acrimony. So there's no acrimony for the government. So when you say there's no acrimony in a marriage breakup, then the sharing of the fruit or the sharing of the assets or the proceeds, there shouldn't be no difficulty. There's no need for lawyers. It's about two of us sitting across the table, because let's say the government and Ross and signing off on these documents and so forth. So it's not the news that any one of us in Dominica. Maybe there are some in Dominica who like the news that they're hearing, as is normal practice for some who only see the negative in this country. But we're hopeful, and I am satisfied that the government has already engaged in other opportunities that could, in the medium to long term, almost match the contribution that Ross made to the economy of Dominica over the last 40 years. So thank you very much. God bless all of us. Let us continue to do what we have to do as Dominicans, because as I've always said, we are largely on our own as a country. People who come, they come to help us. They don't come to do our work for us. And therefore, we have to be diligent as citizens in what we do, whether you work in the private sector, the public sector, or for yourself. We have to be diligent. We have to be constructive in our engagement as citizens, and we have to be united in our efforts to build this country. And I think once we recognize that, the need for us to be constructed, the need for us to be diligent, we can move mountains. I mean, what we have done as a country since Hurricane Maria, because one must not forget that, the morning of September 18th, the morning of September 18th. I mean, what we inherited from a night of fury, and where we are today as a small country, with 226% of our GDP impacted, with a small labor force, So let us look at the positive side of life, and to see how we can work on the negatives that exist within our society. But so we are resilient people. We are resilient people. What we have done for ourselves in the circumstances is extraordinary, and I believe, I would say, worthy of a case study. Seriously worthy of a case study. But we cannot be daunted by this. We have to just work harder and recommit ourselves to our country. If we work harder and we recommit ourselves to the country, we can overcome these things. In Portsmouth, we are resilient people. We've always survived, from boating to to small businesses. I think Portsmouth has maybe the largest number of small businesses and entrepreneurs per capita than anywhere in the world. And these are hardworking, industrious people, innovative people. And I give you the assurance that the government is with you. And we work with you for your challenges, for issues. I know them because I live among you. So, but we'll engage with you more specifically on how you see the government helping you overcoming the challenges. But we have a very good idea. We're from the north there, most of us from the north. We have a very good idea as to the challenges that you have. And we have been holding your hand, and we're going to be holding your hand even more tightly to see us through this short period. I envision that this period of dislocation is going to be short. But the government will create an economic and social dislocation fund to treat with those persons who will be directly affected by this impact of the closure of Ross University. So thank you very much. We continue to pray to the good Lord to bless us and to provide for us, because without Him, nothing is possible. We're just instruments of the work of the Lord, and recognize that all what happens comes from Him. There'll be good times, but there'll also be challenges to test our faith. And this is one such challenge which will test our faith, will test our resolve, we will test our acumen, we will test our commitment to ourselves and to our country. So this is just a test. As we saw in the hurricane, and very biblical in a sense, I think it says, weeping will endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. And we wept on the night of the 17th, but today we can smile as a country. So and we are a Christian nation, and even if you're Muslim or Hindu, the Quran and the books which our Hindu brothers and sisters follow speak to the same principles. They just use different language, but all of it, there's a basis in humanity, speaking to the strength of faith and to the strength of commitment, and that you will go through challenges, but you'll overcome them. Thank you very much. God bless you. Yep.
Yeah.